And I'm looking forward to the class of 2023 to see their display as well. So congratulations and thank you, everybody. Can you give everybody a big round of applause? Welcome to the 37th Annual Hammond Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's both an honor and a privilege to be standing here tonight to honor some of the best athletes to represent the city of Hammond. Tonight we are honoring several of Hammond's finest athletes. In the words of Derek Jeter, there may be people that have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work harder than you do. Your induction is a testament to your dedication and to your hard work to achieve your goals. This honor bestowed upon you is a perfect opportunity to remind the community how talented, hardworking, and deserving you are in this award. Tonight we will celebrate your achievements, demonstrate our pride in your accomplishment, and join in the celebration of your success. The reward of a thing well done is to have done it, Ralph Waldo Emerson said. Congratulations to our inductees. Thank you for being part of our history. Look forward to seeing your ring in the Hammond Hall of Fame. God bless. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it's the 37th Annual Hammond Hall of Fame induction. And one more time, I'd like to have all the previous inductees please stand and rise and be recognized. Thank you very much. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, please bow our heads. Let's take a few moments of silence for the previous inductees who have since passed away. Thank you. Tonight's audience includes a variety of people. As I look off to my right-hand side, if I call your name or your table, please stand. We have 2 tables of the Hammond Morton governors. Please stand and rise and be recognized. Stand up, ladies. We also have the Hammond Central Wolves. Please stand up, folks. And I believe we also have Bishop Knoll. Bishop Knoll, please stand up. Thank you. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a special guest in the house, and I am very honored to say we have John Friend, the very first committee member, 37 years since the beginning. We also have Mr. Ray Cross, the old Hammond High legend, Ray Cross. Ladies and gentlemen, I also like to recognize the School City Hammond administration, also the School City Hammond School Board, and Morton High School and Hammond Central administration for doing a great job that you do with our kids in the city of Hammond. Again, we have Dave Verter, Jeremy Hicks, Sean Kenzie, and Chris Moore. So thank you for all that you do, guys. We have numerous milestones that occurred on this date over the last several years. This is actually the 5th anniversary of Bishop Knoll's soccer title in 2018. This is also the 55th anniversary of Bishop Knoll's baseball title in 1968. Also the 60th anniversary of Hammond High wrestling title in 1963. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 70th anniversary, actually in this very own gymnasium, that John Friend and Crown Point Bulldogs played East Chicago Roosevelt in the championship game. We also have the 80th anniversary of Hammond High wrestling title in 1943, and the 85th anniversary of the Hammond track state title in 1938. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for all the previous members that happened, actually the events that happened on this date. I'd also like to recognize a personal friend of mine. He was our super fan at Gavin High School several years ago when Gavin was still active, and he's still a super fan. Tim Dobbs, please stand, Tim. At this moment, I'd like to introduce Committee Chair Wes Lukosius.
Doug, thank you very much. It's been my privilege to have served on the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame Steering Committee for each of our 37 inductions. But I can guarantee you, were it not for a dedicated work of our passionate steering committee, there would not be a Sports Hall of Fame in Hammond. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce our committee members. Many of them I'm sure you know or know of from the annals of Hammond sports. Committee members, please stand when I read your name. Julianne Acevis, Allison Buell, Jeff Colby, Doug Friend, John George, Marie Herring, Anna Mamala, Pat Montalbano, Larry Moore, Ryan Sosnowski, Dave Sadkowski, Hammond Parks Administrator James Talon, and last but not least, our extremely hardworking administrative assistant, Crystal Miranda. Committee members Eddie Rhea, Sharon Meyer, and Carrie Mitchell could not be with us this evening. I invite your applause of thanks to these devoted individuals. We on the committee are often asked, what does it take for someone to be inducted into the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame? Indeed, there is a process, and it begins by submitting a completed nomination form of someone you consider worthy. Inserted in your program this evening is a nomination form. Should you have someone in mind for Hall of Fame consideration, please complete the nomination form, send it back to us, or if you're able to complete it this evening, do so, leave it at your dinner table, and we'll pick it up following this evening's program. A nomination form also can be accessed at the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame website, the URL of which appears on the front of your program. Finally, I hope each of you have had an opportunity to walk around the corridor area of this historic sports venue. Each of our 37 Hall of Fame induction classes is displayed via a handsome plexiglass wall display. These displays are the artistic work primarily of John Vesmar of the City of Hammond's Technology Department, working with City Attorney Kevin Smith and Misprint Printing Company. After each induction, a new Hall of Fame wall hanging is displayed on these walls. Tonight's class of 2023 will be displayed on the east corridor wall behind me outside this gymnasium. With that as my segue, let me invite tonight's 2023 inductees seated here on my right to leave their seats temporarily to gather around the easel at the corner of this platform, just on the other side of the balloon. Guys, lady, we're going to ask you to gather down there so that we can unveil the 2023 Hall of Fame wall display. So as you are gathering for the unveiling and a subsequent photo, I'd also like to invite our Mayor McDermott to join the inductees for this unveiling. In recent years, Mayor McDermott has championed the cause refurbishing this venerable Civic Center facility, including the look of the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame display. So, Mayor, would you please do the honors of removing the veil of the 2023 Hall of Fame wall display, and please remain for a photograph with our newest class of inductees. Mayor McDermott there? Oops. Okay, Pat's going to pinch hit for him. Here you go. Jake, did you get our picture? Okay. Okay, following that, I invite the inductees to please return to their platform seats for the remainder of our program this evening. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much, Wes. At this moment, I'd like to introduce committee member Pat Montalbano to present our first inductee.
I'd like to congratulate everybody up here and the team from Hammond. A smart person once said, if you're good at something, you'll tell people about it. But if you're great, they'll tell you. Congratulations, you guys. Our first inductee is Gavitt High School, University of Notre Dame standout Juan Alba. Juan was a member of the track team in Morton, and they wanted to purchase a brand new high spin discus, quite expensive. So the athletic department didn't have the money for it. So what does Juan do? Him and his coach, Tom Emerald, spent 2 summers collecting aluminum cans to raise the money to buy that discus. I did the math. It's about 10,000 cans. I reached out to Juan's high school football and wrestling coach, Coach Bill Melby, and here are some of his impressions about Juan. Juan was an amazing 3-sport athlete who could have excelled in many sports if he could have played them all at the same time. In football, Juan never came off the field, and teams would design their offense just to make sure they stayed away from him where he was on defense. Coach Melby told me that he used to like to wrestle with the kids. Juan changed his mind real quick about that, and he stopped doing that immediately. He told me that Juan had a calm demeanor, always a smile on his face. He stepped on that mat, he'd kick their tail, he'd help them up, he'd shake their hand, and then he'd say, next. Juan's first true love was track. He loved Coach Emerald, and he loved working on his skills. He would constantly be at school trying to get better, always with a shot-put and discus in his hand, and Coach Emerald not far behind. They had an amazing bond. Coach Melby told me he could sit down and mention all the awards and honors that Juan has received throughout his high school and college years, but Juan didn't do it for that reason. He competed because he wanted to see what he could do. He competed to be around the people he loved, and he enjoyed the sport, and just for the love of the game. At this time, let's put our hands together and welcome Juan Alba to the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame class of 2023.
I'd like to start by thanking the committee for this recognition. I'm truly grateful that I'd like to start by, by thanking the committee for this recognition. I'm truly grateful that you've decided to honor me with an induction into the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame. And to my fellow inductees, I offer my heartfelt congratulations and to all of you for this achievement. When word spread about being inducted, I received so many congratulatory messages mentioning all of the hard work I put in over the years. And yeah, it did take a lot of time and effort to get here, but I wouldn't be standing at this podium today without the help of many of you here tonight. As I've mentioned before, Coach Melby is the reason why I joined the football and wrestling teams in high school. While you may have coached me in those sports, I happen to learn much more from you about being a proud and well-poised individual. And I suspect that you might prefer it that way. I didn't start to have success on the wrestling mat until my sophomore year when Coach Compton arrived at Gavitt. I put so much trust into you and what you were teaching me that most of the time I didn't even bother to look at the person I was wrestling. I just looked to my corner and knew that you were always going to be there by my side to guide me along the way. My sophomore year is also when Coach Emerald came to Gavitt. I could go on and on about all the time we spent together, throwing the discus or lifting weights, but there are no words to express what he meant to me. All I can say is thank you, Mrs. Emerald, Tracy, Todd, and Tim, for allowing Coach to spend so much time with me at the track. Some of you here were friends with him, and I think you understand how much of an impact he could make. I owe much of my success to my teammates and my friends for their leadership, for their support and encouragement. I'm not sure if anyone here but me realizes this, but every time that I qualified for a state meet, I always had a teammate that qualified with me. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by teammates that brought out the best in me and by friends that believed in me more than I believed in myself at times. Of course, I wouldn't be up here without all the love and support from my family. I may not have shown it at the time, but it did mean a lot to me having you there by my side, cheering me on. And it means so much that you're here with me tonight to share in this occasion. And lastly, to my wife, Lizzie, you understand that even though my days of competing are in the past, I still have to find an athletic outlet, and that's mostly cycling now. You even join me on some of our bike rides, especially if Anna, Clara, and Ben are there to tag along. You always keep me active with hikes through national parks and make sure that we never skip a leg day, even if we have to do the workout in our hotel room. And I just want to thank you for being my teammate. And again, thanks you all for being here tonight, because I definitely wouldn't have been able to make it here without all of you. Thanks.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce committee member Anna Mamala.
Good evening. I first want to congratulate all the 2023 Hammond Sports Hall of Fame inductees. I am here tonight representing the veterans category. Tonight, I will be introducing the daughter of the individual in the veterans category, Mr. Louis Casanovich. The history of Mr. Louis Casanovich and his family are as this. Both his parents were immigrants, came on the ship on Ellis Island from the former Yugoslavia. Did not know how to speak English, wasn't aware of what America held for them. But what Ilya and Dragina Casanovich wanted for their children was an education and to blend in with those that lived into America. Mr. Louis Casanovich was a star athlete and showed his parents that he can do what all children can do coming to America. I am proud to introduce his daughter, Kathy Alexander.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Casanovich Alexander. On behalf of my family, my sister Jody Harris, my brother Alex Casanovich, we'd like to express our sincere thanks to Wes Lukosius and the Sports Hall of Fame committee members for their recognition this evening of our dad, Louis Casanovich, who passed away in April of 1991. We are extremely grateful for this wonderful honor to cherish and celebrate his memory and his induction into the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame. My father was a humble man, and first and foremost, he was a family man. He grew up in Hammond and was the only son of 6 children of Serbian immigrant parents of a very close-knit family. He graduated from Hammond High in 1943. He lettered in both golf and football and was the varsity quarterback for the Wildcats under Coach Carl Huffine. Upon graduating, he served his country in World War II as a staff sergeant in the Army and was stationed in the Philippines, where he earned the Bronze Star. After his discharge, he began college in the fall of 1946 at Indiana University in Bloomington, the campus he loved and enjoyed his entire life. He played quarterback under Coach Bo McMillan and Clyde Smith and shared the Hoosier Gridiron for 3 years with Gary native, All-American and NFL pro and friend George Taliaferro. He graduated in 1950 with a degree in business and was pursued the same year by NFL head coach Norm Strader of the New York Yanks for the 1951 football season. As it happened, he chose a different path and married our mom, Marlene Dickey Casanovich, in June of 1953. Throughout the years, they supported all of our athletic endeavors, especially during our high school years, watching the three of us play organized sports. We thank you again for this most special evening and dinner, recognizing this year's inductees into the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame. We extend our joyful congratulations to the other inductees. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to introduce Committee Member Carol Moore, who's going to introduce the Anderson Peterson Award.
It is a pleasure to present the Anderson Peterson Family Distinguished Student Athlete Award. Dave Anderson, an inductee from the class of 1992, and his sister, Jean Peterson, recommended honoring a graduated male and female student athlete from a Hammond high school that exemplified those qualities for which this Hall of Fame was established: contribution, ability, service, citizenship, and dedication. Though Dave Anderson died several years ago, this award is continued in his memory. The names of the 67 recipients who have earned this honor are listed in your program. The 2023 recipients from the class of 2022 are Armani Ruiz from Hammond Central High School and Demetrius Dean, also from Hammond Central High School. It is notable that Juan Alba from Gabbard High School and one of tonight's inductees was a recipient of the Anderson Peterson Award in 2001. There are 8 past inductees that were Anderson Peterson honorees. Armani Ruiz competed and lettered in 3 sports: volleyball, swimming, and basketball. She also earned all conference honors in all 3 sports. She had a 3.7 grade point average, earning her both academic all-conference honors as well as academic all-state honors her senior year. Armani was a member of the Sea Club, National Honor Society, and the newspaper staff at Hammond Central High School. She attends Indiana Northwest. Demetrius Steen competed in football and wrestling at Hammond Central High School, earning 3 letters in football and 4 in wrestling. In wrestling, he was sectional champ, regional runner-up, and a semi-state qualifier. He was also a member of the National Honor Society and a member of the Area Career Center Engineering and Manufacturing Program. He currently attends Purdue University Northwest.
Thank you very much, Carol, and congratulations to the Hammond Central Wolves and these 2 very fine student athletes. At this time, I'd like to introduce our committee member, Larry Moore.
This individual is a 1969 graduate of Hammond High School. He was an outstanding athlete in basketball. He went on to have a great college career at Montana State University. I want you to know he couldn't make it tonight, but his brother, Carl McPike, will accept his award. But before Carl come up, I want to say something about Roy Lee. He was a special kind of guy. When I'm talking about special, he's one of the toughest guys that ever came through Hammond, Indiana. He didn't get a lot of recognition, but I'm telling you, when I come to the park, I just love to watch him play. I try to do everything he tried to do. I've never seen a person that could shoot the ball with both hands. And I mean, honestly, I wanted to be just like Roy Lee. He was a special person. And when I say, and the guys that know that grew up with him, you knew he was a special and he was a tough son of a gun. And he kind of ruled the park. It was special to play on the team with him. Growing up, he was a special person, and he went on and to get drafted in the ABA, played a little bit in the ABA. He was some special to us, and sorry he couldn't be here today because I've been nervous about talking about him because I had so much respect for him growing up. And people say I was a decent basketball player, but Roy Lee by far was one of the best basketball players that ever embraced this Civic Center and a lot of places in this area. At this time, Carl wants to thank the committee for Roy Lee's inductee. He's not going to give a speech, but Carl, you want to come on up and I'll take a picture with you. And here's a Hall of Famer behind us too. He's a great basketball player in his own right.
I remember watching Carl play in high school against Larry Moore Sr., Richard Valavicius, Brian Banks, and Dick Barr coached basketball team, and I thought that was one heck of a Hammond Tech basketball team back then. At this time, I would like to introduce Hammond High School legend and committee member, Jeff Colby.
Good evening, everyone. A special welcome to the 2023 class in the Hall of Fame. Thank you. I'm here to introduce Mark Nagy. Now, I met Mark Nagy in the fall of, because I was a freshman when this young man was a senior, And I was intimidated by this guy because he was a huge guy, and you know, seniors don't really give freshmen any respect or any love. But this guy did. I approached him one time, we had a conversation about going out for track or throwing a shot put, and I couldn't shut the guy up. He just talked to me forever. And we would run, we used to theme these calls, go from the bottom stairs up to the top, around and down, around, we called them circuits. I called them hell. That was Coach Chief's, Jim Brown's invention for throwers to run. So Mark was a great guy for me and a great mentor. He told me not to speak about it, but be able to speak for yourself. So introducing Mark Nagy for the class, induction for the class of 2023.
Well, hello, everybody. I must admit, when they first asked me to make a speech, they asked me to make a speech, and they told me I needed to make a 3-hour speech, and I was a little worried. 3 what? Oh, 3 minutes? Three-minute speech. And in conclusion, that is the real meaning of life, and that's what really happened to JFK. Okay, serious now, but not too serious. I admit, words cannot do justice to how honored and thankful I am here, standing in front of you. But to reflect on this and to be honest, it's people like you who come out to this, and it's to the people who put this all together, who are the real stars of our society and are the stars of Hammond, Indiana. Permit me to talk about a small thing that can and often blossoms into one of the great gifts of life. This small thing is inspiration. And the giving of inspiration can give a blessing that can last someone's lifelong life. As we know, preteens often know everything about life. Teenagers know what to do. But it is them who probably need the most inspiration of all. Giving inspiration can mean giving them directions early in life. Inspire young people. Put in effort, inspire young people. Share your professions, share your faith, and share your love of life with them. Open their minds about careers, about schools, about degrees. Share stories of good people doing good things. Inspire them with words, and if you even can, inspire them with actions. And show them what the love of sports can be and how it can teach you humility and success. Little true story. I'm blessed with, this one gets me a little bit, so put up with me. I'm blessed with 2 children, 2 wonderful daughters, Caitlin and Rebecca. And when they were teenagers, Rebecca went off to one of these summer camps, had a great time, you know, running around like an Indian, putting paint on canoes, and I went to pick her up. And knowing she's a teenager, she was going to be hungry. So I picked her up, and on the way back home, I took a side road, and I kind of disregarded a private property sign a little bit. and we parked underneath one of these wind generators that are north of Lafayette. We sat there for an hour, eating our lunch, just relaxing and enjoying everything about it. Well, Rebecca gave me a thanks the other day. She let me know that one time doing that inspired her to go to Tufts University and get her majors in offshore wind generators. Just one time dropping it off. Rebecca, good job. As we get older, we hope to exchange the passing of time for knowledge and wisdom, even to the point of realizing how little we really do know. And just because we get older doesn't mean we can't benefit from inspiration, as some people might admit that even older people need more inspiration. The seeds of inspiration can grow and blossom on young and old soil. The blossoms of people transition into the blossoms of society. We live only a short time in this world, but the seeds we plant just may be eternal. Thank you. God bless.
I want to say one last thing about Mark Nagy. He was the first 60-foot thrower in the history of Hammond, city of Hammond, and he started a string of great throwers we had in Hammond High's history. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you what the real truth of the matter is. And I was blessed to be one of those in that string. Learned a lot from this young man here. Okay, now I'm here to introduce a special award that we have that we don't give out that often, but we're going to be giving out this evening. It's called the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame Richard J. Special Achievement Award. The namesake of this honor is a former Gavin High School teacher and coach who passed much too soon. Coach J was a tireless, dedicated advocate of and for student athletes. He coached in track and field, cross country, and wrestling. His devotion, encouragement, and support of Hammond sports and athletics and all of those students in our community he coached prompted the establishment of this award. Tonight, we will bestow this honor upon Mr. Paul Walker. Let me tell you a few things I know about Mr. Paul Walker. As a kid growing up in the East Hammond community, he was an inspiration for all of us because he was that one gentleman that you knew that was a strong force for us, and he'd also get you behind in line if you did something wrong too. He had no problem telling your mom, dad, whoever it was, that so-and-so is acting a fool out here and I'm going to give him straight for you. He always inspired me. Anytime I talk to Paul, I always take away great messages of strength and encouragement from him. He's a walking encyclopedia of knowledge of all sports in Hammond, not just Hammond High. He's a Wildcat, but he knows all sports in Hammond, going back to before his time up to these guys that are out here only running down these courts now for Hammond Central. He is a great man, and you've heard of Wikipedia. This is Paul Walkerpedia. All right, baby, take your time.
Good evening. I'm not going to talk long, but I did want to say, first of all, I want to thank the committee for considering me for this honor. And I didn't personally know Coach Jay, but when people get something named after them, it was because they served above and beyond. And so with that thought in mind, I'm really appreciative of this achievement award. Second of all, I want to personally thank Jeff for those kind words. Coach Moore. I've was blessed to watch them grow up and compete, along with Roy Lee. And you know, sports has been a part of me for so long. Since I was a little kid, I was reading with Whitaker and Lauren Tate, and for the old timers, they can remember those sports columns. And I used to read about people, and when they started to having the Sports Hall of Fame, then I said, you know what, this is an opportunity for me as a sports fan, because I was an athlete, but I was not a good athlete. Not when I come through compared to the guys that I had to deal with, because I was playing with people that was high school All-Americans here at Hammond High, high school All-Americans at Morton. So it was a tough time in the early 60s in football. A lot of people don't remember it. A lot of people has moved into the city and don't realize that in 1960, Hammond High was the undefeated mythical state champ in football in Hammond. In 61, Morton was the mythical state champ in football in Hammond. And in 62, Hammond High was the mythical state champ again in 62 for football. And I was talking with Coach Friend, a former coach of mine, sitting back in the back, and he reminded me that the 64 Hammond High team didn't lose but one game. And then in 1965, Morton, again with Darrell Cheney, was undefeated and mythical state champ. So there was a time in the 60s when Hammond, in the city of Hammond, was football capital of the state. And you know, I followed a lot of that, and as well as track and basketball, and I've seen so much sports here in the Civic Center. I can remember the first time I ever saw a basketball game personally in the Civic Center. A friend of my parents brought me up here in 1955 to see the Globetrotters play with Goose Tatum and Marcus Haynes here in the Civic Center. So things like that touched me. Later on, I played on the 7th grade team in Maywood, the 8th grade team in Maywood, and I was telling my brothers here, two of my brothers are here with me today, and my sister and neighborhood friend, and I was telling them that when I was in the service, I was the coach and the quarterback for the football team. We had a flag football team, and I was the coach and the quarterback for it. And what I tried to do was emulate what I had seen from players like John Boagent, that I came through high school with, high school all-stater from Hammond High, 62 team, and Dale Cooches. I'm not Dale Cooches, but Wayne Paulson, another Hall of Famer. Those were great quarterbacks. And I wasn't a quarterback, I was a defensive end, but I tried to emulate them in the service because I didn't want to get hit. So, so I played that, you know, and I knew more about the football than anybody else that was playing on that team. But anyway, I'm not going to delve into the history that I remember it, but I've seen in the last 60 years, I've seen the best of basketball in the Civic Center that came through the state of Indiana. East Chicago, Washington, Gary Roosevelt, Muncie Central, South Bend Central, Michigan City, Valparaiso. So I've seen some great basketball and great sports. And the thing about Hammond High back then, Hammond High would win so much that it allowed me to go back to work on Monday, bragging, grinning and skinning about what Hammond High had did. And so, you know, that was great times for me. So, like I said, I'm not going to stay up here long, but I do have a lot of memories of sports in Hammond and right here in the Civic Center. And lastly, I'll say this here. I started out coming to these Sports Hall of Fames. I don't think I've only missed one, I think. But I started coming to these Hall of Fames because I wanted to see the great athletes, Frank Radovich, Don Brum, Matt Kurger, Wally Zimba, you know, all of those guys that I had read about. It started out with them coming to see them. It ended up with me coming here because I wanted some more of that Polish sausage and sauerkraut, you know. And a few years ago, they didn't have it, and I pitched a bitch. But, you know, so they brought the sauerkraut and the Polish sausage back. And, but I appreciate that, and I'm going to hang this. My wife has told me that she's going to allow me to hang this in my living room. And back here last year, the mayor left, but back here last year, the mayor gave me the key to the city. And it's hanging in my living room. And this is going right beside it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce committee member Juliana Seves.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to the new class of inductees to the Hall of Fame. As a BNI alumnus and a member of the Hall of Fame committee, it is my pleasure to introduce the next Hammond Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Jim Tarka. Coach, Coach Tarka was a teacher and a coach at Bishop Knoll for 34 years. If there is one word that comes to mind when I think of Coach Tarka, it's absolutely dedication. Growing up, I spent many hours in the BNI gym because my father was also a coach who worked alongside Coach Tarka. As I was working on my layups and free throws, I distinctly remember Coach Tarka setting up hurdles, laying down the starting tracks, putting out mats and bars for the pole vault pit. He was always in the gym. It didn't matter if it was August, January, or May, he was there. He was dedicated and he was committed. I can still see him walking through the gym with his clipboard in hand and multiple stopwatches swung around his neck, getting ready for the next meet or practice. It is that dedication that produces individual state track champions, conference championships, and recognition as a Conference Coach of the Year 9 times. Please welcome Coach Jim Tarka.
Thank you, Julie. That was very, hello? Okay, thank you, Julie. That was very nice. I am so honored to be here tonight, to be in the class of Hammond Sports Hall of Fame inductees with all the greatest athletes and coaches in Hammond. Is just phenomenal. I am so blessed and thankful I am here. I want to thank the committee for accepting my nomination. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate the other inductees for a job well done and well deserved. And I want to thank all my family and friends for supporting me. I want to thank them also for putting up with me. Thank you so much, very much. When I graduated Griffith High School in 1965, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. Even after a year of college at St. Joe and Rensselaer, still had no idea what to do. Teaching and coaching was not in my top 50 list at all. Then, August of 1966, everything changed. I got a letter from my uncle. The letter said, "Greetings." Well, the letter was from my Uncle Sam, and it said, "You are now in the Army." And from that point on, 10, 11 things happened that I can't explain. I really and truly cannot explain. Things happened that should never have happened. Things that should not have happened. So my journey here tonight was definitely very interesting, very unexpected, and definitely unexplainable. I became a teacher because the supply sergeant wasn't where he was supposed to be in the supply room. And because when I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, in his place was a clerk that talked me into going to drill corporal school. If that supply sergeant was there that day, I would never have been a teacher or a coach. But that clerk talked me into being going to drill corporal school, which led to going to drill sergeant school, which led to me doing in my company, being a drill sergeant, and it forced me to start teaching classes. I taught PT, physical training, rifle PT, hand-to-hand combat, bayonet training, and survival training. As I taught some of these classes, I got observed by the battalion commander. And because of that, I got a couple letters of achievement, 90% accuracy. They was very impressed with my teaching. And I also got a few letters of accommodation for my platoon, who did a very good, they scored very high in the physical proficiency test. One day, a light bulb goes off, and I said, with all these letters of commendation, maybe I should be a teacher. So when I got out of the Army, I decided to go to school and get my bachelor's degree in education, and I became a PE teacher. Eventually, I wanted to go get my master's degree, so I go to IUN in Gary for summer school, taking a bunch of classes. Well, when class was over with for that summer, I decided I'm going to the cafeteria. The only day the whole year I go to cafeteria. At the same time, a teacher from Bishop Knoll goes to the cafeteria, first time all summer. First time all summer, he wears a Bishop Knoll coaching staff shirt. We cross paths, I see his shirt, I do an about face, follow him to his table, introduce myself, and I asked him, does Bishop Knoll need any teachers? He said, yes, we need a PE teacher. And I said, I'm a PE teacher. We set up an appointment for an interview. I go there to interview. I got the job. I have no idea if any of those 10, 11 things was luck, if it was fate, or if it was divine intervention. It didn't matter. I was at the place I was supposed to be. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I met some fantastic people there. I had two great coaches, Dan McCabe and Tom Emro. I had some unbelievable athletes, 5 state champions, relay team, 4x100 relay state champions. So I just had athletes that wanted to work hard, and they worked really hard. In fact, they made me look good. So because of my athletes, that's why I'm here tonight. So I want to thank my athletes and the coaches for doing a great job and helping me be over here. So I thank you very much. I am very honored to be here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our committee member, Dave Sikowski, who's going to introduce the final inductee for this evening.
Congratulations to all the inductees tonight. Little League World Series. In 1972, there was no ESPN Sports. Only ABC's Wide World of Sports. The games weren't televised live, and the ABC Wide World of Sports game was televised on tape delay. In the 1972 Little League World Series, it was all single elimination. There was no pool play. There was no double elimination. One loss, and you were out. In 1972, there was a special team out of Hammond, Indiana, the Hammond Edison Little League team. They had a magical summer in the summer of '72, making it all the way to the championship game of the Little League World Series against Taiwan. Tonight, for the first time in the history of the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame, we are going to introduce a team. And it's my pleasure to introduce one of those members of that 1972 team. From the 1972 USA champions, my friend Tom Bialik.
Whenever I think of Northwest Indiana baseball royalty, I think of my friend Dave Sikowski and all the great things that he's accomplished over the last 40 years. Please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. In 1972, my teammates and I had the opportunity to have our 15 minutes of fame. And now, 51 years later, which is over a half a century, by the way, we get to have another few minutes of fame, thanks to the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame. So thank you all very much for everything you do for us. Our team was comprised of some very good ball players who accomplished something really pretty great. And we were able to do that due to a couple of different reasons. One was our team manager, Mr. Pete Vargalich, who in 1968 actually had a dream of taking this group of boys to Williamsport. And he convinced us and he sold us on that idea, and we lived his dream. So if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be standing here tonight. Our coach, Mr. Joe Cornell, who choreographed our pregame infield drill, which later became known as Snap and Pop, which was a drill that was done with such speed and precision that many times after the games that we'd won, the opposing manager would come over and say, hey, you know what, you had us at infield. We knew we were in trouble. And last but certainly not least, our parents. We had a group of parents that weren't your stereotypical Little League parents. When we did well, they cheered and gave us our accolades. And when we didn't do so well, they pretty much gave us silence. But they didn't scream at us, they didn't criticize, and they didn't try to coach from the grandstands. Lastly, well, I've been given 3.5 minutes to give this speech, and I think I'm about a minute and a half into it. So if you would, please indulge me, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the gentlemen in this room. So I'd like to introduce them and have them come up here and join me if you don't mind. Would you? Thank you. And keep in mind, it's been 50 years, so they may need a little encouragement to get them to hustle up here. But would you please welcome our shortstop, Mr. Jim Polowitz. Playing second base, Mike Rosgani. Our third baseman, George Leonakis. Catching, our Iron Man, Jeff Wright. Also catching, Peter Vargalich. Our center fielder, Tom Parker. Playing right field, Pete Del Rio. Pitching today, John Davis. Unable to join us this evening, our left fielder, Steve Moore. Pitcher, Robbie Clark. Pitcher, Gary Fredericks. Our right fielder, Joe Rixey. And third baseman, Tim Parker. Also unable to join us tonight is our coach, Mr. Joe Cornell, happily retired in North Carolina. And last but certainly not least, our manager, Mr. Pete Vargalich. Rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
That was totally awesome. Thank you very much, Tom, and the 1972 Edison Little League. Ladies and gentlemen, before I forget, inductees, before you leave this evening, as soon as we're done, can you please go on the gymnasium floor, and our photographer, Jake, is going to go ahead and do a group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight has been a very special night, a very special privilege to honor such great men and women of Hammond's historic Hall of Fame past. First and foremost, let's actually give them a round of applause. On behalf of the Hammond Hall of Fame Committee, we would like to thank several people, the Hammond Civic Center, Mayor McDermott, the Hammond staff for your assistance and everything that you do. We'd like to give please a round of applause for Jake's caterer. Now it looks like he's gone, but Jake, I know you hear me. Thank you very much. Also, these fine men and women over here, the Hammond Central Junior ROTC. Let's all give them a round of applause. I would also like to give acknowledgement to the Northwest Indiana Times, sports editor Noah Bortle, WGOB's Jimmy James Delo, RegionSports.com and Region Sports, Chris Ramirez and Nathan Lair. And actually, they have been streaming this live from the beginning this evening, and they're going to actually have it on YouTube within the next couple days over on I guess it'll be on their Facebook page as well. We'd like to also acknowledge Stephanie Reiser and the Hammond Area Career Center team and media class who have done a super job this evening, whose student production will be linked into the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame website within the next couple days, www.hammondsportshalloffame.com. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for doing this. We would like to also acknowledge the Hammond Sports Hall of Fame webmaster, Robert Teets. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude tonight's ceremony, let's go ahead and have the retiring of colors by the Hammond Central Junior ROTC. Take it away. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Drive safe and God bless. See you next year.